Panel of today, the first day of our conference, a savory discussion today. We are still waiting for two persons to join us, one online and one offline. Mr. Sebastian Record, speak of the devil, he's now here. Welcome. So, I am Mariana Stan. I am the moderator of this event, head of Bioeconomy and Policy Engagement, BEHEALTH. Let's welcome our guests today. The lady at my left, I'll ask her to take the microphone. It would be a good idea for each of the guests to do the same thing. We would like to know a few things about you, each of you, and then we'll go to the topic of our discussion today. Good afternoon. My name is Izabela Stancu. I am a university professor in Politehnica Bucharest, and I'm also pro-dean of medical engineering department at the same university. I'm part of a research team for polymers. I'm head of research and I'm managing a number of projects within the university. From the point of view of my expertise, I'm an expert in biomaterials and I'm involved in research with a lot of materials from biomass or natural materials. We are trying to use them in other ways for healthcare, for new solutions, for reconstruction, and for tissue regeneration. Of course, we also have some other directions for our research, but mostly this is what we do. We research biomaterials for the healthcare system and for healthcare solutions. Hello, I am Timofte Florin. I am the manager of the National Institute for Marine Research and Development, Grigore Antipa. I'm a biologist. About our institute, a few words. We are very interested today in promoting bioeconomy, the blue economy, and we are researching a lot of marine science and also the development of the legal system and of regulations. And last but not least, we are trying to bring to Romania new aquaculture systems and the opportunity to integrate a lot of economic activities, starting from the most simple ones to the most developed, including the use of various resources as food for humans. And there is a lot of potential for financing in research in our field. And we are grateful for that. They are available right now. And the economy in Romania is able to integrate marine resources that we have available. It's a good idea for business as raw materials for other businesses in Romania. Very interesting topics for today, but before going to the discussion itself, let's see our guests. My name is Marian Gheorghe. Good afternoon. I am a founding member of the Precision Agriculture Association of Romania. I'm happy to be here today. As professional experience, I'm an expert in agriculture. I work in sustainable agriculture, and it's very important for us to go from research to mass education and mass culture. I will speak Romanian for our Romanian farmers because it's very important for them to understand what are the trends and what are the directions in global agriculture today. So I need to introduce myself, yes? Okay. I'm a manager for the Institute of Bioresources. of Romania. It's a research institute that works with the food bioresources. We have several research projects, food safety, nutrition, and of course, consumer sciences and sensory analysis, because one food, no matter how healthy it is, it's not used if it's not tasty as well. That's consumer perception is very important, and sensory analysis as well. We know a lot of discussions nowadays with insect flour, for instance. Yes, I'm trying to promote any food, especially if there are new alternatives and innovative alternatives. So we are working in our institute with the food technologies and bioeconomics, because I see here that we are talking also about bioeconomy. Food agriculture and food industry are also a part of the bioeconomy, because we also work with renewable resources. And what we do is to come with a systematic approach, an integrative whole approach. And we need to have a strategy in bioeconomy, because we don't have a strategy so far, and I've been telling this for years. This is the future. If we want to have a clean planet, and if you want to have food to eat, and the Precision Agriculture Association plays a very significant role in this respect to make agriculture more effective. We'll talk about this because you mentioned strategy, yes? I think the strategy topic will be one of the first questions to be discussed today, because we have a lot of people online present, more than 200 people, so I think they're very much interested in the bioeconomy strategy. Good afternoon. My name is Sebastian Recot. I'm here with multiple hats, but I'm here mostly as the founder of an advisory services company with innovative solutions. I'm a representative for companies specialized in soil health. This is something that was of interest to me when I graduated some days ago from university. Agroforestry, carbon farming, eco systems. For me, it's something that's closely related, agriculture and ecology. We'll see that all this is cohesive. It's just one topic, actually. I'm also an expert in agriculture, and I learned a lot about agriculture. I'm a graduate of agriculture, but I've learned throughout the years a lot of chemistry and everything that I know today about modern agriculture. So we have healthy, good crops. In order to bring the necessary quantity of knowledge and the necessary quantity of products, I think we forgot a little bit about this cohesiveness, about coherence, and you see that we are here, the building blocks of the systems, all of us present here today, but the system is just one, and we need to go forward as one. Thank you very much. Ștefan Cibian is also here. He's online. Dragoș, please. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Ștefan Ciprian, sunt directorul Institutului de Cercetare Făgăraș. Mă ocup de proces pe activitatea Centrului pentru Afaceri Globale și Post-Dezvoltare. De asemenea, sunt profesor la Universitatea București și la Universitatea Ploiești, unde mă axez pe cursuri legate de dezvoltare internațională și politici publice. Mă bucur să fiu aici astăzi. Mulțumesc pentru invitație.
Thank you very much for being here with us today. Ștefan Cibian, co-founder of Făgăraș Research Institute and Associate Fellow Africa Program, Chatham House. We were talking, Mrs. Belk, when we started our discussion, that we need a strategy for bioeconomy. And this is the first question that I would like to discuss today. A question for each and every one of you. If you are to identify a priority for Romania in the field of economics and the economy for the next 3 years, what would be the most important thing that comes to mind? Because you started mentioning strategy, let's start with you, Mrs. Belk. Thank you very much. First and foremost, the European Commission says food is the first. First of all, we need to have food to eat, and then we can do other things as well. In bioeconomy, it's not only about food, it's not only about what we eat. We work with renewable resources in every field, textiles, pharma. We need drugs as well, and biomass and everything. But, as I mentioned already, we need to start with the resources, with the food resources for humans. We have a number of challenges that we are faced with nowadays. Climate changes, we are more and more people on Earth, and the resources are limited. We use a lot of soil because we are so many for different activities, for our houses, energy, water, they are all limited resources. So we need to do something to cooperate. And what I heard here today already sounds good to me, because in bioeconomy, you cannot do things by yourself. If we have a priority, yes, we need to have food to eat, but in order to have food, we need to have agricultural technology that is effective and good, and to use the resources as effective as possible, to do a lot with less, and use those resources that are sustainable. But on the other hand, we discuss also a lot about vegetable protein. We need to have them on our table, but I think that we need to have varied, different resources of all kinds, animal, vegetable. Of course, we could focus on vegetable resources more for sustainability, but we need animal resources as well, because our neurons need animal protein in order to regenerate and in order to grow and develop. And we need to balance things so that to leave the resources to renew, to regenerate, to contribute to the health of our environment. We were talking about One Health once, yes, with Mr. Gheorghe as well. This is One Health. We need to a change of mindset, because we need to take care of everything that's around us. But as far as I've heard here today already, I think we are on the right way. I would like to know, Mr. Gheorghe, what's your opinion? Let's speculate the moment. And as a context, about 65% of the calories that we eat as a global population come from agriculture, plant-based food, as we call them, and the rest is animal resources, meat, eggs, etc. That's the reality. Let's go back to our question. Yes, the European Union has a very good plan, but we need to have an enemy. And then we have to say that, unfortunately, in Romania, we are not very good at implementing the regulations. So if we are to look at other countries, I am not going to name them specifically, but France or Spain, they are doing things at micro level. They are adapting things at a micro level. You cannot have all of the same conditions for all the farmers in Romania, for instance. You cannot stop all of them from doing certain things. And then in our Association for Precision Agriculture, we are trying to help both lawmakers and the county departments, agencies, the entire system. We are trying to cleanse the system a little bit, and we are trying to identify the challenges, the biggest challenges that we have to face in order to have a sustainable system from an economic point of view, from a financial point of view, for the health of the economy, and to use the, the best resources, because the resources are scarce, as you already said, and we are faced with the drought and with the soil issues. So farmers give up certain crops, corn, for instance, because we used to be one of the greatest exporters of corn, which is not the truth anymore. So we need to take care of our economy in Romania with the conditions that we have here in order to generate food, to have food security and food safety. Mr. Timofte, you are looking at me very strategically. What's on your mind? Each strategy is good and is necessary as long as it's implemented and has clear objectives and clear indicators and benchmarks that are updated all the time. But I'm going back to your question now. A strategy needs to have an educational component as well, because we are talking about how can I say this, a lot of designations that for many people have no meanings, or they are misinterpreted, misunderstood. The new generations that are now learning in school, they need to learn the terminology, they need to learn the words, because they are going to put in practice the strategies that we are talking about right now in the future. Now we need to have a framework, we need to have a foundation, the bricks and everything, the mortar, and education is the first thing that we need to consider from a strategic perspective, and very, very clear-cut planning, not also about financing. We talked about financing a lot since this morning, but it's an issue that we had with our institute, for instance. We had no idea how to access, or we had problems accessing financing. And a lot of institutions had this problem as well, not only us. But if we are talking about projects, algae can cover animal products, can replace animal products using a very, very small patches of land. With the right technology, we can cover this requirement for animal protein only from algae. But unfortunately, Romania is not doing anything in this respect. We, as an institution, we are doing everything that we can in order to develop this field of expertise more. Mr. Rako, thank you. I would like to talk exactly about the bricks and the mortar mentioned before, this strategy that we need to have the type of agriculture that's beneficial for the economy and for the environment. And because we are hearing a lot of times that agriculture has a negative contribution for the economy because it's polluting and so on, but that's not true, because we see in the United States, in Western Europe, in Africa and Asia, and also in Romania, that agriculture, I said agroecological, but they are all, we have different names and different denominations for the same thing, for healthy, secure, beneficial agriculture. And for this, we need, first of all, a sign of recognition. When we go somewhere in a shop, for instance, we need to choose the tomato, for instance, that uses renewable resources, and we need to recognize that product by a label. And the consumer needs to be aware of this, because in the end, what we want to do is to do something good for the society, but the consumer sometimes needs to choose from two apples or two tomatoes, and they use the cheapest one, because that's the purchasing power and you cannot do otherwise. But if you know that maybe behind that product it's something very positive and it's only some Romanian lei difference, then maybe you choose that because you don't need tons of tomatoes, maybe just 1 kilo. So I think this would be a good thing, and maybe sometimes in the year there are no tomatoes because they don't grow all the year round. So what we have as a proposal for a strategy, it needs to be visible for the consumers because the consumer needs to be educated, but also the farmers need to be educated. So and the members of the government, they need to know why things are done in a certain way and not in another way. So everyone needs to be aware and needs to be informed. For me, if we are to talk about strategy, the end point that attracts everything with it, it's this label. Yes, label that's for eco-agriculture and renewable agriculture. Regenerative agriculture. Very interesting ideas today. I like them a lot. I'm trying to see what our role is here in our discussion, where you are the representatives of native fields in bioeconomy. From a strategical perspective, we can add to everything that you said so far that bioeconomy, world health, they are all done using materials that secure health and safety for all the items that you have already mentioned, and at the same time, the keyword education that you've mentioned already, two of the previous speakers, in different contexts, education is also one of the keys. And universities, first of all, they can contribute a lot regardless of their expertise, of their fields of expertise. We need advanced materials, we need advanced technologies, but first of all, we have a strategic need for coherence for all these bricks that we hope to lay the foundation for our future lives, industry, technology, partners from the private sector. In one of the previous panels, we talked a lot about financing, about funding, and we know how important funding is for all our activities. One of the questions in previous panels was how many of the companies that we gave as examples were from the IT field or related to IT, and how many companies were in other fields, in advanced materials, in the advanced materials field that are used for in different areas as fertilizers, for instance, or as protectors against a certain zoonosis, for instance, or to maintain, to keep water in soils. They are missing these companies, active companies that actually manufacture. We have a lot of companies that sell products, advanced products, but we don't have companies that actually manufacture them. We have a lot of technology at our university. We have protocols, for instance, for artificial tissues, for composites and all sorts of renewable materials. We use waste generated by other sectors, but we miss that partner that needs to exist, the partner that actually manufactures, because we depend a lot on other partners from Romania or from other countries in the European Union. It's a good thing to have cooperation to resolve matters effectively and to use funding effectively in time in order to reach the right maturity for all the solutions that we need. So indeed, coherent education doubled by strategic guidelines that are not changed every 2 or 3 years or 4 years depending on other things, not on the greater good, the good of the population. That's something that somehow needs to be supported to become reliable and real and give us the comfort to develop our own fields of expertise. One more thing, and I'm not going to talk any further, the word blue that has already been mentioned previously by Mr. Timofte, it's a priority for us as well. We also work with blue biomaterials of marine origin. We use green materials and sustainable materials. I'm a strong believer in the future of these materials, and we succeed in using them at the higher standards of quality, and I'm sure that we, all of us together, we will be able to add to bring added value and develop the strategies that we need. Thank you very much. Thank you. Stefan.
Mulțumesc. Permiteți-mi să aduc o perspectivă din domeniul politicilor publice și al științelor politice. Cred că dacă vorbim despre strategie, este important să nu uităm că venim dintr-un regim totalitar. Ori un regim totalitar, evident, nu se corelează foarte bine cu gândirea strategică. Prin urmare, nu este de surprinzător că avem parte de instituții care au încă mulți pași de făcut în ceea ce privește gândirea strategică. Deci aș puncta practic
As we are now the
cerințele sistemice, acesta este un
inheritors of a former totalitarian system, we have problems in developing strategic thinking. Our institutions have a problem with working on strategic thinking topics. This is important because we need to have a coherent approach to budgeting, to public projects, and it's important to have strategies that are not only theoretical but also practical, and they are linked correctly to budgets. Another systemic approach that needs to be mentioned refers to the different actors that are playing in this field and they play a role in the development of this field, in the environment and the bioeconomy. Actually, although we have a lot of resources, we do not have the capability to translate the resources into impact and economic development and economic growth, because the way in which we offer to our local actors and regional players the ability to contribute to economic growth, it's also a problem, and it's a challenge for our economy as well. Another challenge, a systemic challenge for us as a country, is related to climate changes. Climate changes come up with a lot of emergency situations, and these emergencies require resilience locally. So actually a capability, the ability of local communities to understand and act in order to mitigate and counterbalance the impact of these emergencies. And this is again very complicated. So we see that negative impact that we have been talking about. I think these systemic challenges are important for all of us. Otherwise, without facing them and resolving them, it will be very difficult to us to go forward. Thank you, Stefan. We were talking about the fact that we need strategic thinking, funding, education, and I think that the next question comes as a conclusion for our discussion so far. Let's say that we have all of them. But how can we support innovation better in private-public partnerships? because it's very difficult to support such partnerships. And I'm interested here in the view of research institutes. It's difficult to be an NGO, it's difficult to be a research institute, it's difficult to be the link between them. So, who wants to to start the discussion? I heard the words research institute, and I want to say something. Before strategies, a few years ago, I tried to count and I stopped about 79 strategies at national level, each one of them unimplemented, of course. It's about the cohesiveness of policies, policy coherence, because we need to have interinstitutional cooperation. And we in Romania, the ministries, the authorities, they don't manage this cooperation very well. And us as research institutes, for instance, in the field of food resources, we are not consulted, for instance, although we have a lot of knowledge. And it would be easier for a lot of institutions if they consulted us. That's why I'm saying, first of all, we need to cooperate. Bioeconomy means cooperation. Not one player can do things by itself. I'm also in an advisory board for sustainable development. We have a very, very nice development, a very nice strategy for sustainable development for the near future. But it's very, very difficult to gather people from different ministries and talk about sustainable development. Sustainable development needs cooperation from all the stakeholders. And the sustainable development needs all of us. Us, we tried to see the statistical indicators that are of significance. If we talk about fruit and vegetables, for instance, they are not indicators for sustainable development. They have to do with the demand and supply. So in the end, we have about 99 key indicators, actually about 200 if we add all of them. But some of them, 6, 8 of them, they are very, very general, and others are very specific. So I would like to talk about policy coherence and cooperation. I think they are the most important. And then we talk about education with the Ministry of Education, about agriculture with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of the Economy, of the Environment, of healthcare. Food is 75% significant for health, and we are not able to reach an agreement between institutions. Because in healthcare we have strategies, but we have strategies for cures, not for prevention, which is again a problem. We have now a strategy for prevention, but we speak very little about prevention. That's where everything starts. If we want to do something, we need to cooperate. And research institutes, I work for a national research institute. We are there. We have a lot of data. We have a lot of knowledge in order to be useful to the authorities. That's exactly what's written in all government resolutions, but we need to be invited. We need to be guests in all discussion panels and come up with our expertise. Science policy societies, so everything needs to start with us and go to policies so that it can be reflected in the society. But this is something that we need to learn as a society. What's missing in the current dialogue between institutions? I would like to go first to the topic of innovation. Without innovation, the economy cannot operate. Research institutes need to innovate, but we need state support, not 100%. We don't want 100% state support for our operations, but for some of them, for some basic operations, we need state support. And then we develop more. There is cooperation between research institutes and private companies. We are talking about these policies that the research institutes can implement. We, as national research institutes, we have some progress reports, we have annual reports, we see the progress in implementing European regulations, but we need to go back to lessons learned, and we need to put pressure on politicians and tell them, okay, we have an action plan that we provide you with, and then we need to see what has been done about that. Okay, you have the action plan, but what has been done actually? It's exactly the same thing with innovation. We can innovate, but we need to look for companies and talk to them and tell them what we can do for them. Everything starts with education. I'm sure we had not enough sufficient economic education to understand how things work, because we have the civil society, companies, private companies, research institutes, universities, the European Union, ministries. We need to cooperate and have a common language, because very, very many times we in research, we speak one language, politicians speak another language, business people speak another language, and the civil society a totally different language. So we need to find a common ground and the same language that we should all speak. This is the only solution right now. Mr. Georgiev? Another opinion. Yes, I already have an answer. We as businessmen, as entrepreneurs, we are a little bit crazy, because otherwise you cannot be an entrepreneur these days. And but of course, there is also universities, the Polytechnic and other universities, and we need to cooperate with them. We have a project right now, a new curriculum, Agritech Manager, with all the information of precision agriculture. And I would like to tell you here today, present here from institutions, from research institutes, that we need to have a protocol for bioeconomy, for the future experts in bioeconomy. So that's exactly what we need, a common protocol, a common ground between state institutions and private institutions, because sometimes the cooperation between the state, the government, and private institutions and ONGs is a little bit challenging, but we've learned throughout the years how to be effective as farmers, how we manage soils, and we become sorts of soil managers, and we are bombarded with information, with data. This is what we do. We turn data into very, very specific things, black and white, and then farmers can understand better a lot of things. There is so much information in agriculture nowadays, and we are so happy and so pleased to work with this very, very alive organism, that's agriculture, and we are all involved. Private, state, companies, and farmers need to understand and make informed decisions, not only based on feelings or, I don't know, tradition, mostly information-based. Thank you. It's very true what you're saying, because bioeconomy and agriculture mostly, they work with life. So we cannot say today is Monday and I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I need to water my plants, or because I have a sensor that's telling me that I need to water the plants, for instance. Life is in soil, but also in plants and animals, and we have an entire ecosystem. And this ecosystem is artificial, man-made, farmer-made, and it's actually also an ecosystem, but we need to intervene. And in order to be able to intervene, we need to know what we have to do. I learned 25 years ago, as I say, some things, but at the same time, I did research in my own field of agroforestry. Research has a lot of information, but I did not learn them at the right time, and then I did not know. And that's what farmers are doing. They're not learning enough. They need to know more. So we have politicians also that understood that everybody needs to know more, and they understood exactly the benefits of knowledge. We have people who know things, but we don't know what they know, and that's a problem. For instance, for renewable agriculture and regenerative agriculture, we need technology that doesn't use soil extensively to protect microorganisms, to decompose waste. And we have, for instance, projects that are subsidized by the state. And for each country, we have tailor-made approaches. And nobody explained why certain things are subsidized and other not. And then people don't understand. We have a very reduced population of microorganisms, 10, 20 times less than normal, and we have a disbalance between bacteria and fungi. And if we don't know this, we also lose crops and production because the soil is not adequate, it's not appropriate for the crops that we are growing. And we used to take food from fertilizers, and then when we need to cooperate, to have a cooperation between bacteria and fungi in the soil does not know what to do, and farmers say, okay, I'm losing money, I'm losing crops, and then I do what I know from last year. But what's nowadays, it's not last year, it's not 10 years ago. You cannot do agriculture today as you did 10 years ago. It's not yesterday's agriculture, it needs to be tomorrow's agriculture. What I want to do is to do today's agriculture with all the information that we have. When we have plants that work in cooperation with bacteria, they have more nutrients than the three great nutrients that plants need. And then we have a density, a nutritional density of vitamin, minerals in flour, fruits, everything we eat. And then animals that we want to eat, if we want to eat meat, they eat this kind of food, yes. I'm looking at my neighbor here. She's working exactly in this field, and exactly what she said. We eat healthier food, and we have more food safety plants when they develop. They develop better, and they need less fertilizers, and we need less antibiotics. But okay, if I'm sick, of course I go to the doctor and I take antibiotics. But if we are healthy, the environment is healthy. If we have one health, then we are also healthy as a population, as a consequence, and everything is related. So we need to open the doors and make the right connections between everybody, all of us present here, because we all have a key to the door. Of course, as you said, it's a circuit, and we need to close the cycle. And because we all have different perspectives, different points of view, we have academic approaches, we have political approaches, we have, of course, this is difficult for us because I work for a university and we don't work directly with the field of agriculture, unfortunately. So from the point of view of communication, and the implementation of certain rules, clear rules of tools, whereby all these approaches and actions are translated into concrete steps, into, I don't know, farmer behavior. Because I understand that we are talking about a paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift can start from politicians, from state institutions, from financiers, but what's happening actually in the economy depends on how we translate into practice all these theoretical policies and actions that need to be beneficial in this context. I believe that we need to identify further tools that actually the providers of products, suppliers of products, I think products is the right word, They need to be convinced to implement the theoretical strategies that lead to the progress that we are all waiting for. We need dedicated resources. So we need more than general approaches. We need very specific actions, and we need to send the message very clearly, and that will lead to the message being delivered to the most strategically significant partners and to effective regulations. I think we need all the kinds of approaches, not only the specific ones, but also the general ones. And Stefan, maybe here you could tell us about the lack of political approaches and strategies. How do you see the loopholes and how do you see what's missing in policies?
Mulțumesc foarte mult pentru întrebare. Deci,
Thank you.
cred că inovare și transferul de cunoștințe
If we are to talk about innovation and public-private partnerships,
în acest context, cred că primul lucru care
in this
este
context, the most important thing is legislation, the laws, so that public-private partnerships can use it. We don't have the right legal framework right now to bring together all the right resources or to innovate. I think we are somehow at a very low level from this point of view. But going further to matters related to public-private partnerships, I think that the points of view that we have already heard today show certain requirements, certain needs, the need for a common language for all of us, the need for a meeting point between various sectors, the way in which things are translated and connected between the university field, for instance, and public-private partnerships and regulations. What we lack actually shows the fact that we need constructive talks, discussions, and a system of public policies based on evidence. The lack of such system, evidence-based system, actually is caused by the number of challenges that we are currently facing in the field of policies, public administration, but also in universities and research centers. As far as the political players are concerned, I talked about the formal political regime. Unfortunately, political leaders tend to do what they want instead of what should be done, and without basing their decisions on analysis. From an administrative point of view, it's quite difficult to understand why, now that we are no longer in the communist regime, we don't have budgets earmarked for research or more money earmarked for research, because there are so many fields that are important, like agriculture and so on. Actually, public institutions do not invest in research. They invest in data gathering, in statistics, in analysis, and okay, this is a good thing, but we also need investments in actual research. So this is also a challenge, the way in which public institutions see things. So in this context, research institutes and universities, they are not incentivized to develop research that's relevant for public policies, to write, to draft regulations and projects to translate information between academic research and practice in institutions and the economic sector. And in this context, I believe this is the context I believe is present today. If we are to talk about innovation a little bit further, when global challenges and local challenges and national challenges are all present nowadays, I believe that one thing is very important. It's a lot of focus on innovation in all business task forces, industries, but a little bit less focus on governance and governance models. And I think that here it's also another challenge, because if you are not able to allocate resources and we are not able to innovate as far as governance is concerned and best governance practices, I think that we can be faced with a context when we won't have peace, social peace. It will be sacrificed at the national level. And we have a lot of examples in various contexts in other parts of the world that can also happen in our country. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's good to have various views. I'm sorry that Mrs. Mihaela Frosineanu was not able to be here with us today because we needed the political point of view here today for effective solutions. But because we have different perspectives, I would like to talk of another interesting thing. Mr. Marian Gheorghe, more specifically, what are the kind of pilot projects in other countries that can be used for our experience here today in Romania? Because we like a lot to talk about successful models, including models in other countries. But when we need to implement them, things become a little bit different. Where is the mistake? What do we do wrong? We want to take over some ideas and implement them in Romania, but when we want to actually implement them, there is a small problem. I think that what you said is very correct. I would like to tell you that agricultural departments at the local levels, state departments, they don't have experts in agriculture, or they don't have enough experts in agriculture. Furthermore, we were talking about the lack of communication between policymakers, the state, and research institutes. It's a huge gap there. Between research institutions and universities, is there communication? Yes. So, the problem is that it's difficult to meet all of us at a meeting point, at the same table, and discuss about everything. I don't know, about Internet of Things, about procedures, about information on sensors, robotics, blockchain in agriculture. And the question, very simple question, is for universities, not only in Romania, who's going to teach all these topics, the master students or other students? And then we go back to the beginning. So we need to train the professors because they don't have the necessary knowledge and the necessary expertise in this field, because they are very old in their own fields and they do not have updated knowledge. So we need to train the professors, the teachers, in order for them to teach our students, and then things will change at university level. I don't know, vocational training programs for people who need to know certain things. Yeah, it's very complicated to do this at national level, to implement everything. And that's exactly what Mr. Balk said previously. It's important, at least the people who are here today at this table, we need to help each other. We have a lot of projects that are already ongoing. And we have, first of all, the idea, and then we have the implementation on the market. And we lose a lot of momentum until the moment to the moment of implementation on the market. We start very enthusiastically, and then when we have to implement, we start to see that we don't have the budget anymore, and this is exactly what we see. This is what we see in the private sector. This is how we see things happening. What I would like to say is that you misunderstood some things. Private-public cooperation is present, exists, but we are not strong enough because we are not so many. We could have been more, even if funding is not enough for research institutes, because they are not budget institutions, state budget institutions. They also need to have their own projects. They are somehow half-budget institutions. They need to have equipment, salaries, and they need to do something for the society as well. So I would like to give you just an example. I completed 2 years ago a project, uh, a great amount of money for cooperation with the companies. We had 25 projects for various companies, new technologies, new products, adjusted to various conditions. We find cooperations, we find partners easily, and we have projects easily. The problem is with the political side of things. There, not only from our perspective at research institutes, I think everybody has the same opinion because we have a lot of changes, political changes, and then we start things all over again. We have changes in political powers, changes of regimes, changing of perspectives, and then we start all over again with the projects. The changes were quite frequent, too frequent for us. Yes, you are right. Microalgae. Yes, we have also a project with microalgae. We are testing them for the food industry with exceptional results. But biotechnology in general brings added value to things that are maybe even new to us. I don't know, if we are talking about waste in the food industry, in the food sector that can be recovered and used. They are all great ideas. The Second World War, sausages had yeast protein added because there was not enough meat in them. So in crisis times, biotechnology is important, coming up with, I don't know, microorganisms and every other ideas, but we need to have projects and we need to have funding. We need to have a financial incentive because the research in Romania has a very, very low percentage of GDP as funding. At the beginning of September in Timișoara, we had a conference and we talked about what we are doing. And it was great, but we are very few. Because if we are talking about politicians, they say developed countries are able to finance research better than Romania. They are developed because they have good research. It's not the other way around. They are developed right now because there was a lot of funding for research. This is what we need to talk together, private and public sectors, because we need to come up with solutions and cooperate. Even if we don't have a solution, talking and cooperating will have something good in the end. It's easy to cooperate with the private sector. Of course, it's easier to cooperate with them. It's easier than to cooperate with politicians. If we want to do something, to have an integrative approach, a whole system approach, we cannot do anything without politicians and without policies. Of course, it's nice to say, and it's very pragmatic to say that we cannot do without policies, but where is the link between everything? Okay, we are all different entities doing their own things without great institutional support, but at the same time, we are asking for facilitation of dialogue. Where do you see the solutions, considering what you are doing in your own fields? And I would also like to talk to the people who want to ask questions, yes, in the audience, if there are questions from the audience. Let's see first what our speakers have to say. I want our discussion to be on a positive note, but of course it's also important to highlight less satisfactory things and identify challenges and opportunities and find solutions for our problems. And let's see, and then we'll have some questions from the audience. maybe in these discussions, did you invite politicians? I don't know, someone from the healthcare ministry, from research ministry? Yes? Did you have politicians present? Yes? Ah, of course. This is exactly what we need to do to get involved, all of us. Yes, this is a very good thing. I don't know if there is someone in the audience from the political sector, because they should hear what we are talking about. We need to cooperate, all of us, because they are decision makers and they have the power and they govern various sectors. Thank you very much for your answer. Other answers? Anything to be added? No? Okay, I think we've highlighted what's important. Questions from the audience, please? Considering the topic of this panel, I have a question of something that you mentioned previously, the effects of climate change, and the question refers to how can we mitigate climate change impact on food safety, and healthcare, because healthcare is also an important topic. And the second question, agricultural practices, precision agriculture, how can we adjust practices taking into consideration zoonosis, COVID-19, yes, this is and decontamination, remaining competitive at the same time. And the third question, policies. You said that there is no integration of all the policies. There is no policy coherence. What is the solution that you have for policy coherence? How do you think you can integrate all the policies existing right now? As far as food safety is concerned, in the context of climate change, all the events, all the changes, climate changes such as flooding, various climate events, water is the greatest microorganism transporter. It transports microorganisms from one place to another, but also contaminants from the soil from one place, I don't know, heavy metals or other toxins to another place in the soil. I was a member of the commission working on food safety, on regulations in food safety, and I discussed about this. Besides climate change events leading to the spreading of microorganisms and contaminants, we also have new infection zones, areas with the various microorganisms, fungi, bacteria, microscopic fungi, and they are causing they are generating microtoxins. They are substances that are cancerous. Not to speak about, I don't know, fires, forest fires, wildfires, that's another problem. They generate toxic products, dioxin, huge amounts due to combustion and other compounds, but even in very, very small amounts, they are very, very cancerous. So if 30, 40 years ago we had no idea about certain substances, we talk about dioxin, for instance, a lot nowadays because we know that it's cancerous. It causes cancer and it's decomposed in hundreds of years. So we know now that it's very harmful. When there is a lot of rain, we have not we have some fungus that are missing because there is a lot of rain, and then there some microorganisms develop and they contaminate grains and other plants, and they then contaminate people. But We have Aspergillus, for instance, in some areas, and Aspergillus generates microtoxins. We had some research projects for crops infected with Aspergillus, for instance, but things are changing so fast. We need constant monitoring to see exactly what strategy is the right one, because things are changing very fast. To protect against these microorganisms, but the people need to know a lot of things. We have a lot of very, very small households, very, very small farms, and people are not aware of a lot of things. And they don't ask experts, unfortunately. For instance, if they want to have healthy corn crops, they work like in the 50s. Instead of asking experts, they are not asking us why the crops, for instance, are not healthy. Things are continuously changing. It's great dynamics. And asking your questions with the policies, the issue is very complex. We can talk there for days about this topic of policies and policy coherence. As far as policies are concerned, of course, we've seen that some things can be implemented. I'm part of the Sustainable Development Board, and we work together with the government to integrate some policies. We have a workshop in One Health, for instance, organized. We have no government participants, unfortunately, of course. When we talk about sustainable development, everybody wants to be there. So we need to have communication channels all the time, and they need to be interested in our topics. And they need to be interested in the manner in which we present things. We've managed to do a couple of things as far as policies are concerned, because we want to bring all the players to the same table. We are involved in European projects as well, and we've been successful in some things, but it's not easy. We need to be in constant contact with the political decision makers, and you need to do things actively. There are so many things to be said. Of course, there are so many other things to be said, but I would like to add a little bit of other things about the questions before. A part of the answer is this regenerative agriculture. If we are to talk about climate changes and climate challenges, it's the kind of agriculture that through developing certain things, for example, exactly fungi in the soil, they decompose biomass and vegetal mass, and then we have a healthier soil, which was and then we have carbon and carbon sequestration and carbon farming, which is something new, and we can do things for global warming as well. We have also some complex that retains water in the soil, and we've researched a lot of these solutions of how we can maintain water in the soil. So, and we published a lot of our research and the conclusions that we reached. Water, for instance, today in Romania falls. We had a drought for 3 months, and now we have 120 liters in 24 hours, and this water falls here, and it goes further down. If the soil is permeable and it can absorb a lot of water, then the water goes there and it's available later on for plants. But drought, it's less present, then floodings are also less present. So we'll have a lot of problems, we'll have droughts, we'll have floodings. So this is something that's a reality. As I said previously, once we produce the type of agriculture that's healthier, then a part of the links, the agricultural links, are diversified. When we have diversity in an environment, then we have pressure that's less, because when we have hundreds of hectares of corn crop, we say, okay, we have food and we'll have what to eat. But better it's to diversify and to have various crops, not only corn, because this is how we can solve a lot of problems that we have. We'll have problems, of course, but they will be easier to be managed and smaller. And I think you understood that, of course, there is a coherence, there is a link between what we do, the type of agriculture that we do right now, and the tools that we have today for this, and the consequences long term. And moreover, we have other things, I don't know, the algae that we've talked about, everything, everyone who's here. I'm sure that if we are to ask the audience here, we'll find the people who can add things to what we talked and have solutions. I like our discussion today. We are approaching the end of the discussion today, but we have some other questions from our online audience, and if there are other questions, please do ask them. How can we encourage companies to invest more in sustainable solutions without depending 100% on European funds? It's profitable to do that. Oh, I would like a more developed answer. In Romania, in agriculture, European funding was not only good, but it was also bad for farmers because they became a little bit lazier. I know that people will be upset for me saying that, but farmers need to be more resilient in Romania. They need to tackle the changes, they need to adapt to changes better, because in other countries, farmers are more proactive. They also invest, they are also engaged in finding solutions and in finding funding. So they do not rely extensively or 100% on European funding. And I think that probably only half of the European funding actually reaches the objective. And about the previous questions, what about precision agriculture? Mrs. Belk said, for instance, before that we have the fungus. We have all the information about all the fungi. We know when the fungus occurs, how it appears, why. We have solutions. So we need we know exactly the seeds that are healthy or not healthy. So that's exactly what we need to do to cooperate, all of us, to have an overview of things. Other questions? However, I would like to have one more question for each one of you. How do you see Romania in 2030? Starting from our discussion today, maybe with more optimism, focused more on solutions. I would like your opinion, and we will end on this note. Ladies first, please. I'm very, very confident that things will change because we have changed perspective. In the past, people knew less. Nowadays, consumers want to know. They want to find healthier food. Healthy, okay, that's a very general word, and I don't know what's healthy for me. Maybe it's not healthy for someone else, but let's say healthy food, the food without contaminants, nutritious food. So people begin to be more educated food-wise, and the children in school, for instance, they have more information on nutrition and diet. So we as a research institution, we cooperate with a lot of private companies, and they have a different perspective on things. They see a better future, and I see a better future. Mrs. Tanku, a different perspective, but on the same optimistic note. Of course, 2030 is not that far away. It's near time horizon. But in this context, I believe that we will be one step closer to a better future and a healthier future, contributing to, I will repeat again the keyword, advanced materials, natural materials, advanced materials, for agricultural as well, for the food industry, and I include here packaging, advanced packaging, the technologies that we use, such as bioprinting, 3D bioprinting, they are all technologies that bring huge competitive advantages, reinventing products that already exist. We will develop them more so that they can be available and maybe better understood by beneficiaries. So yes, I'm very optimistic that we will implement these, I don't know, the progress in education and the education of future experts and also direct beneficiaries, and progress will be present. I think we need to work in cooperation, to work together, understand things better, and we'll have great outcomes in 2030, which is not that far away. I would like to be optimistic as well and say that we need to be more adaptable because climate changes will not stop and we will not be able to eliminate all the impact that we have, but we need to be more adaptable. I feel bombarded by information because each and every year we have more information that needs to be processed in order to be able to adjust and come with more practical solutions, and I hope we will be more educated as well. This is what I wanted to say. Yes. We see innovation and technology going hand in hand, and in 2030, we say from conception to consumption. This will be 2030. This is how we see it. I'm here from 2001. So I've been here a while, and at a certain point I had the opportunity to go back to France, but I decided to stay here because I saw the potential of agriculture in Romania. And I said, okay, in 10 years Romania will be a leader in the agricultural sectors. I saw the challenges, I saw the subsidies for farmers. Unfortunately, we are not. Romania, we are not number one in agriculture right now in the European Union yet. But I think that more and more all the stakeholders involved, they're trying to implement solutions. I see more curiosity, I see more eagerness, farmers that want to be more informed, that want to get involved. And I'm an optimistic at heart, but I think that we can go better, further, in 5 years, let's say, if we have a general framework to support solutions and farmers, everything, regulations, administrative, tax, if we have the right framework to facilitate all the links, this is what we need. This is it. It all depends how far we go. It all depends on the framework. As we said, it all goes back to politics. Stefan, we'll end with your opinion. What's your opinion on the question I asked? I would like to add a little bit more to my previous speakers. An important thing is how we counterbalance, we mitigate the effects, the negative impact of climate changes. And for this is very important to communicate better. So we need to have people with strategic thinking and to counteract climate change emergencies that will take place for sure in the future. Of course, I would like that Romania will be an important player in the future. A very nice conclusion for our discussion today. Of course, we need to continue our discussion. Who knows, we'll have also a facilitator between state and private. Thank you very much for being present here today. Thank you to all the speakers and to our online guests, the online audience. Have a nice day, and please be with us the next 3 days, because we'll have a lot of interesting topics that we will discuss, at least as interesting as today's. Thank you.